Hello everyone, my name is Hayden the Weatherman, and this is a look and discussion of the potential impacts tonight from the weather system moving into the area overnight. Now I know that this is something that is definitely new and is different, and I've never done something like this before, but honestly I kind of just feel like doing it and throwing it together real quick, because there's a lot to talk about in this. And honestly, doing it over 7 snaps probably gets annoying, A, and B, it's tedious to make, sort of. Especially when I only have single images to work with. So I decided, hey, let's just throw a video together and it's a lot easier. I hope. Now I will warn y'all, there's a little bit of technical jargon that I have to go over in order to fully explain the extent of these weather events. And there will be some things that you probably don't understand. But if it's something that you don't understand, I will at least, if I will try to explain it. Or if I don't explain it, it's not that important. We're going to start mostly with the technical jargon, and then we'll get into more of the forecast later on. But for now, we're going to stick with this. So first, we have an upper level low here. This is moving to the northeast over tonight. Now we have a surface low developing along the Texas coast. Attached to this low in here, there is currently a warm front, and then there will be an attached cold front back in the south of the Gulf. Overnight, both of these will be moving to the east-northeast, somewhere along the Gulf Coast. If we zoom into the Texas coast, we see that there are currently storms that have already fired up in this area. Especially offshore, there's a big thunderstorm offshore. Before I go any further, we're actually going to go back and look at the current and today's weather that we've been looking at. Started out very gloomy this morning. You had a wave of clouds that were over us, and it was pretty cold to start the morning. And it didn't really warm up until finally these clouds cleared out. And since we've had a pretty sunny day, now obviously that is about to change as there's some increase in thunderstorm activity off to our west, and all of this is moving to the east-northeast again. But for the next couple hours, you'll still have a pretty good day for the remaining sunlight. Now keep in mind this is being recorded at 3 p.m., so things may change by the time you see this. Now for the current radar picture, we have a couple storms in the Gulf, which look pretty potent early on here. Now the models didn't really predict these, so I'm not sure how that has implications on future when we start to move into our area. We'll see what happens later, but I will get into the specifics in a little bit. First, we're going to start with current warm front placement. Now, what does that mean? Now, the difference in conditions between Houston and Galveston is pretty stark. You have 70 in Galveston, and you have 57 in Houston. Now, this is important for a couple things. The warmer weather is definitely way more conducive to severe weather than this is. The only thing you can really get in 57-degree weather is hail. Hail will not be that big of a threat here, although north of the warm front, that's about all you're going to be able to see, severe weather-wise. Now, as we can see, there's a couple supercells in the Gulf. They've kind of congealed into a line now, but we'll see how these track as the day goes on. They are currently moving up toward Lake Charles and such. But they are not important for us. What is important for us is where the warm front is now. Now, basing off what I see, current look, we're looking at surface observations here. The wind is blowing this way at all coastal stations. This hints that the front is somewhat past, but not very far past. The warm front is, at least. Now, if we come over here, this station is straight out of the south. This one is more south than east, like these are. And these are blowing this way. Now, if we come up here to Wharton, I don't know where these places are. I'm just going based off the surface obs we have. Wind here is blowing from north to south. If we come to this, I think this is Victoria. Wind is blowing from northwest to southeast. If we come up to Houston, you have here, here. So I'm just basically plotting the wind directions that we currently have. Where does this leave us? Well, the front resides somewhere in this area. Now, this is very important for what comes later. Because if the warm front is past you, your warm front's here. Homa, Point La Hache, Golden Meadow, Grand Isle. you will all be in the southerly wind, the wind moving from south to north. If you're north of that, your winds are probably going to be more like this, which will mean that the severe weather threat up here is very low. If you get closer to the coast, your severe weather threat is a lot higher. There's still a chance that even though the severe threat's higher, that we don't see much. But that's going to be very important later on, and I will keep bringing the updates as soon as I get them. Once again, if we move back to current, the rain from the west is starting to move in. New roads in Baton Rouge, you're going to start seeing it soon. Over the southeastern portions of Louisiana, it's going to take a couple more hours. However, we're going to see conditions deteriorating by sunset tonight. Now from here, we're going to take a look at the models. So first, I'm just going to play it. And you're going to see as we progress, a line of storms forms in the Gulf. Now these storms look pretty potent on the model itself. And you can see, here's what I'm going to point out. See these little gray or black circles that are kind of coming out from the storms? These are the model trying to hint at rotation. Now, what that means is that these are basically supercells. Supercells are obviously the ones that put tornadoes down. We have a few of those. Most of them are in the Gulf. Now that's going to be important. However, some of these could just barely creep on shore. That's what we're going to be watching. But the threat overall is not very high. It depends on where that warm front sets up. Another interesting caveat to look at is the fact of the temperatures. The temperatures will actually be rising throughout the night. So we're going to be looking at sunset tonight. Temperatures around the area, 54 on the well north shore in the Mississippi, 59 south shore, and to the coast it'll be about 65. We'll be in the mid 60s on the coast. As we go throughout the night, as we progress, notice how up in the Mississippi the temperatures don't rise that much because you're so far away from the front that it doesn't matter. But on the north shore, the close north shore, and the south shore, you're going to see temperatures rise massively overnight. As you can see, we go from the upper 50s all the way up to the mid 60s. Now that'll be the warmest it gets because once the front passes, temperatures crash again. And I know that sounds like a broken record at this point because temperatures never want to fall. But that's what happens. For the rest of your Tuesday, you're not going to see 60s again. You're just going to be cooling off throughout the day. In the morning by sunrise is going to be your highest temperature of the day. Mid 60s in the morning, into the 50s by 10 a.m. And then as you go, there's going to be lower 50s, and then the lows overnight will end up once again in the 30s and 40s. And I know that sucks to say, but what can you do about it? Outside of that, heavy rain is a big factor in this scenario. A lot of precipitation that is emanating outward from the storms ends up on the coast at the very least. If there's not storms, then there's going to be rain at least. We're going to be watching that because there could be very severe rain totals. This is the National Weather Service in New Orleans posting this, and you can see there's a swath of 2 to 3 inches over Houma and up near New Orleans. Now, outside of that, 1.5 to 2 inches near New Orleans itself. Once you get to the North Shore, you're not going to be seeing that much rainfall, but it's still enough because we need rain around here. We're in severe drought conditions. We need this rain. Only problem is that it may come a little too fast as all this rain will be falling within like 6 hours. And it will be nighttime. Now, at nighttime, obviously, it's a lot more dangerous than during the day. Stay weather aware tonight. Have a way to wake yourself up if a warning is issued. I know we all have our emergency alert system alerts. So we have tornado warnings that'll come up on our phone. They blare really freaking loud, but that's what they're supposed to do because we need to wake you up in the event of a tornado or something. Now we're going to take a look at the Storm Prediction Center's website. This is where the severe outlooks are issued. They just updated this about an hour ago, so if we click on it, marginal risk extends from the lower Texas coast, eastward, Lake Charles, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, New Orleans. So basically what we're looking at, the lake southward. Now, it's for all threats. Tornado, I think wind is probably the highest, but tornado is a close second. Hail will only be a problem north of the warm front. However, caveat, the surface low is going to end up near the lake somewhere. Does it end up a little bit south? Does it end up a little north? It probably won't end up north. North is very unlikely at this point. But if it ends up still getting stuck near the coast, then only the very near coastal areas will have any threat of severe weather. Rain is going to be an impact either way, but it's hard to pinpoint this accurately at this even though we're only 12 hours out. Just get that straight. Even though we're only 12 hours from this happening, our confidence is still very freaking low. Now, looking at tonight, pay attention to these lows. Now, these lows will probably be set as soon as the sun sets. Because after that, remember what I showed you, the temperatures will be on the upswing throughout the night. We'll probably end up on the South Shore near 70 or in the mid 60s. When we start at 50, mid 50s, or low 60s. Now, when we look at the highs for tomorrow, pay attention to these as well. Notice what I said earlier. We're starting at mid 70s, mid 60s, 60, mid 50s. These highs are going to be set the second that this front comes through. This is going to be early morning, so we're looking at these to be early morning highs. Temperatures throughout the day tomorrow will be falling into the 50s, no matter where you are. And rain will be moving out by that point. Now, what we're looking at, this is set at Hahnville, this point forecast. This is an hourly graph of temperatures, dew point. I'm going to focus on temperature. Temperatures in red. Notice 65 by 3 p.m., which is right now. Temperatures would drop first part of the night. Not far though, maybe a couple degrees. By 9 p.m., temperature starts going up. To 67 is what the forecast says by 3 a.m. Now, the darker shaded areas is when the sun is down. The white areas, is when the sun is up. Check out what happens the second the sun rises. The front hits, temperatures fall. Now you might be mistaken for thinking in this part of the graph that this is the sun down, this is the sun up, this is the sun down. But that's just how wacky the situation is. So the temperatures will be rising overnight and falling during the day, even with sunshine. You're going to bottom out pretty much near 50, 58, Now look at the winds. Look at the direction we have. So we're going to start here, currently. East to west wind. Overnight, winds will start shifting to that way, to the southeast to northwest. They get perfectly south to north. They turn southwest to northeast. Then they completely flip on a head and go northwest to southeast. That is a full rotation of wind. But that just goes to show how crazy this environment is going to be. And do keep in mind that the winds will be pretty elevated through the night. Now, rain chances will be highest from the nighttime hours. There's no real set point on that because, as you can see, rain is already starting to move in. It'll be here in a couple hours, and then after that point, we will see conditions deteriorate, and by sunrise, you might still be in a wet environment, but by morning, it will definitely still be cloudy, and it will be drying out, and the temperature will be falling. So great. Now, taking a look at the next couple days, Tuesday night, low is going to be around mid-40s. We're going to be looking at that. That's going to be very chilly again. However, as we go forward, the nights only get colder, believe it or not. Wednesday night and a Thursday morning. Thursday morning, temperatures will be around 43 is the forecast. And here, the next night, 41. Now, I might be playing a broken record, but it'll be cold again. And actually, there's a chance of rain, believe it or not, Friday morning. Besides that, we'll come back here and look a little bit. Some supercells developing out to the west. This one's actually... Ooh. Okay, so we were watching these storms offshore. And just as I've been talking here for the past 20 minutes, this storm has actually started to rotate pretty nicely. Starting to curl up. We got a supercell there. Thank you guys for listening to me. I've been talking here, recording for 30 minutes. Please leave feedback down below. Make sure you keep updated with my story. Make sure you keep updated in general. Have those warnings enabled for tonight and stay safe. See y'all later.